Anders,
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Very good.
Nice to meet you, Anders.
You too?
So, Anders, your debut album and Yet It Moves is scheduled to be released on November 12th. So, can you tell me a bit about the songwriting and the production behind this album?
All right. Yeah. It's set to be to released here in November. So it's been a long journey for us because of COVID. Of course, we had a lot of time on our hands to sit and work on the songs and to record the songs. And because we're a new band, so we didn't have any live shows. We didn't have any possibilities to play any live shows. So we could spend a lot of time on the songwriting process. And now, of course, we recorded the album quite some time ago. So we had a lot of time to release singles and test the material off before the release. So that's good. A lot of time. So we're looking forward to getting it out now soon, as soon as possible.
Sounds good, sounds good. And is there any particular concept or a theme that you put behind this album?
If you work with some team or what?
No, a concept. What is the concept or a theme that you put behind this album?
Okay, yeah, the concept of the theme. Yeah, we actually we assembled the band. We are all in different bands, and we wanted to do something new, and not new in the sense that the music is something you never heard before, but to learn from all the different things that we can do and try to assemble something united. But the concept of the theme are that we want to make a heavy rock album or heavy metal album. You can call it what you want, but something that that has some depth to it. Maybe, yeah. We never really enjoyed all the dragon lyrics or something like that. So we want to put a bit of depth into the music, and we wanted maybe don't have that many rules as well. Try to test off what we thought we could do the best. That's always the difficult part when you assemble a band to agree on where to go with the music. And of course I want to do a lot of different things. I love all kinds of music, so basically I would love to play many different genres, but through the years I realized that I do some things better than other things. And when you're four different people in a band, you have to figure out where to go with the music. And that was kind of like a free process, and we are very satisfied with the final result. So that's nice.
Amazing. That's amazing, Anders. And talking about the cover art of the album, it's quite interesting to see that cover art, and it's like it's really amusing. And the first time when you look into the cover art, there is something deep inside of it. So, can you tell me what was the exact idea that you put behind the cover art?
Yeah, the cover art was kind of a spin-off, or like a thought process from the album title, and Yet It Moves is, according to the legend at least, the last words that the philosopher and physicist Galileo Galilei said before he was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life, for believing that, or for knowing that the Earth was of course moving around the sun and not the other way around. But the Vatican didn't agree at that time, so that cost him a lifetime in house arrest. But after he was sentenced, and he was lucky to get, the only reason he didn't get burned on the fires was that he was very famous. So, but still he had to provoke them a little bit and say, and yet it moves. So it's of course some thought. The song is not about Galileo, but it's about that battle between science and religion, and kind of the interplay between those two things in the modern world, and how they always kind of stumbled over each other. So the album cover is actually a picture from NASA, NASA, and it's from the inspired by a picture they took from the dark side of Pluto, with the sun shining from the other side, of course showing that it's round, and of course knowing that it's moving around the sun. So it's kind of an interplay in those things.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing with me, Anders. And the 9-track debut album, I had the opportunity to listen to it, and it is totally amazing. You did an amazing job on each song. Each song is perfectly crafted and totally sounds amazing. And I would say this is the debut album is simply fantastic to hear. And how, as a band, do you feel about the outcome of the album?
we love it as well. So that's very nice. It's always a bit exciting when you're writing a new album with a new band, because sometimes the ideas seem good, and it's not until you actually record them that you find out that maybe something's missing, or you needed to do something else differently. And today that's the expensive part of the process. So sometimes you can't change it, but because of the COVID break, let's call it that, we had the opportunity to do a lot of demos. So all those kind of small problems we had eliminated before we went into the studio. So we were pretty sure what we needed to do and how we wanted it to sound, and then we just needed to find the right producer, the guy who could make that happen. And luckily we knew a guy here in Copenhagen who could do that. So we are very happy about the song writing process, but also the sound, because it's so important in this kind of music, because sound is so defining. If you go too modern, it's a completely different impression you get of the song, and if you go too old school, it can seem sometimes a little bit like more of an exercise or a statement that you need to do it this way. But we really believe that we hit somewhere in between those two things, and we love it. So that's very nice. And actually, I never felt like that before. I was always super critical when I released records with my older bands, and I was never really happy enough. But now I like it. I love it. Yeah, I'm happy.
That's great to hear, and that's great to hear. And I know the band started during the period COVID hit the entire world. So, but I believe you took everything in a positive way, and you moved in the release of the album on November. So, what are the obstacles that you are facing, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
Right now, the obstacles are, of course, that we need to play a lot of shows, live shows. That's the way you make it and break it. As a rock band, you have to go out and play. And the problem in Europe, at least, and many other places in the world as well, but the countries are kind of coping differently with COVID. So some countries are doing quite well. Denmark, we are all right now, but some countries are still pretty bad. So going abroad is difficult. But even in Denmark, it's difficult because because of the lockdowns, we had a lot of canceled shows, and all of those shows have been rebooked. So that means that actually right now we have more than almost 18 months of canceled shows that are being rebooked and actually are going to be held now. So for a new band coming into the scene right now, the live part of it is the difficult part. And hopefully people still listen to music and want to buy records. So we hope that's not going to be affected too much. But the ability to go out and play is challenging. But I think we did all right. So that's nice. We still have a lot of shows to play. So it's not that bad.
Sounds good, Anders. And Anders, would you like to tell me how you guys all got together and formed Timechild?
Yeah, definitely. It started with me and the other guitar player, Birk, and we met actually at the release party of our bass player's old band's album. So it's a bit intertwined and complicated, but we both left our old bands almost simultaneously, and that was a good opportunity to just sit down together and talk and figure out what do you want to do now. And luckily we wanted to do the same thing. So we started the process, the two of us, and then we kind of went a bit of time without a drummer and a bass player, but then other lucky circumstances made us able to get the bass player from the other band, and our drummer came on almost at the same time as well. He's more of a professional guy, so he's actually playing drums in the Danish Navy. So he has that gig, and then some other gigs. But we got him on board as well. So, but from then it actually went pretty smoothly. So now we're a good and tight group.
Sounds good, sounds good. And I love the name of the band, Timechild. So what made you to come up with the name Timechild?
That's always a bit difficult for me to, not that I don't want to, but sometimes there are always an important reason is that when I look at a festival poster, I want to be able to see what kind of music the band is playing just by reading the name. That's important to me, because sometimes you don't get another chance. But if you have like a poster with a lot of bands, people they scroll through it, and if you're called, I don't know, Dragon Slayer, it's pretty clear what kind of music you're playing. Or if you're called Cannibal Corpse, I'm pretty sure that it has to do with something like that. And sometimes people don't even listen to you. They don't even give you the chance if the band name is not kind of directing you towards that genre. So that's important. And Timechild, of course, has some references back to some 70s stuff. It's important for us to give people that reference, or that kind of idea. And then a Timechild is a word that has different meanings, but it is something a bit supernatural, or someone with extraordinary, or at least different abilities. And we like that kind of notion that it's kind of like an open, you can put your own interpretation into it as well. Because I don't like when it's too defined. Sometimes I actually don't like either when bands explain their lyrics way too much, because then you can't really sit down and kind of get your own ideas about it. So we chose it because it sounds like the music that we're playing, and because it has some opportunities for going deeper into it and kind of reading your own meaning into it.
Sounds good. And I would like to know, since this is going to be the first debut album from you, in the future, how is the songwriting going to be? Is it going to be focusing on science and religion, or you'll be exploring into more things in the future?
No, it's definitely not just science and religion. That's just some of the songs. It's about a lot of different things. If we take the lyrics for starts, it's just kind of I do most of the lyrics, and it's just my thought process. I studied science, but that's not why I'm doing it. I just like I like that those thoughts about why are we here, and how do we look at ourselves as humans, both in the bigger scale in nature, but also inside our own minds. So that's kind of like the way I do lyrics. I find that interesting. So it's probably going to stay in that theme, but nothing is defined. I don't have any big ideas about doing concept albums about science and religion, but it pops in. It's a big part of us as humans. So I think it's important and interesting. But musically, it's also something that's ever evolving, because we learn more about how the bands should sound, of course, how we think we sound good, but also using each other is also interesting, because we have a lot of different experiences in our musical careers, so you should take advantage of that. And I think we're learning to do that more and more now that we're getting to know each other. So that's something. So I actually don't know how the next album is going to sound, but I think you're going to be able to hear that it's still the same band, but of course something's definitely going to change as well.
Sounds good. Although the roots are from the early classic rock bands and metal bands over the years, but you put a lot of elements in your own way, in your style. That's how Timechild is shown to the outer world, how the music is created by Timechild. That's a fantastic thing you guys are doing. But in the future, what are the kind of musical experimentation you are planning to do?
Yeah, actually, it's a difficult question when people ask me, what kind of music do you play? Who do you sound like? I've always had a lot of difficulty answering that question, because I really honestly don't think that we sound exactly like someone else. I know that's what everybody says. They don't want to be a copy band, but I really have difficulty explaining it, because of course I've always loved the old 70s, big 70s rock bands like Black Sabbath or Deep Purple, Thin Lizzy, and all those twin guitar parts we have, of course, inspired by that. And some of the heaviness from the riffs are from Black Sabbath, the twin parts are from Thin Lizzy, or the vocals are maybe more inspired by Deep Purple, Mach 3 with some Coverdale. Some people find some Chris Cornell in it as well, but some of the parts people mention a bit of grunge as well. I never really listened to grunge music, but it's always something that people are saying, so it's interesting. And I think it's a good mixture of things actually. And I grew up playing classical music, so I have some experience in that, and that always comes back in some part and some of the elements that we're doing. And I listen to a lot of Nordic folk music as well. I like those kind of, especially in the vocal arrangements. I love those vocal harmonies, 4-part, 5 parts vocal harmonies. I always love those manly choirs that we have here in Scandinavia. All the kind of Nordic, it's not Viking, but that kind of sound, kind of something like the Celtic sound in the UK as well. So we mix a lot of things, and I think it turned out pretty well. I'm happy. So I think we're going to try and explore that as well, and but still keep that core of heavy rock. It's based around a good riff. It's based around a good melody and a good vocal. So that's going to stay, and then we'll see what kind of other parts we'll throw in there. That time will show.
Sounds good, Anders. Sounds good. And what would be the dream for you guys?
That's always a good question. Of course, go as far as possible. That's the way we want to do it. And the unrealistic dream is, of course, to be the biggest rock band in the world. That's what everybody says. But if we have to be a bit realistic right now, so Europe is a pretty good market for this kind of music, especially if you go to some of the bigger countries here in Europe. That would be a good place to start. The Germany, Italy, maybe France, but especially Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and then Scandinavia. We have a long history of heavy rock, and actually the country's not compared to India, of course. We don't have that many people, but we have quite a lot of people in those countries. So there are, even though it's a smaller market, it's still pretty big if you go to Germany. So that would be a good place to start. Of course, Denmark and Scandinavia, but we are kind of small, so we have to scale up a bit. So that's where we'll start, and then of course from there, let's see what happens.
Awesome.
As far as possible would be the dream.
Awesome. Sounds good, Anders. And since this is a new band that has come out of Copenhagen, and what would you like to say about Timechild to the world?
Go and listen to our music, and hopefully we'll see you out there at a concert as soon as possible. That would be it. I think that would be the best way to introduce the band. The music should really speak first. So we have some music videos, and we have an album coming out in less than 2 months. So that would be a good start, and then we'll do everything we can to go out as far as possible in the world and show how it should sound like.
Sounds good, Anders. And Anders, finally, what would be the message that you want to give to the fans and to the musical fraternity around the world?
I think it's important these days that we're living in right now. After all, still in the midst of this COVID pandemic, that we'll be fine. And please don't be afraid of going out and listening to music as soon as possible. That's what we need as bands. We can't live without the fans, so we needed to bounce back as quickly as possible, and hopefully we learned something. And I think it's also, if you have to take out something good, we learned how much we miss music when we can listen to it. That's, I think, many people realize that it's not just a given. We can't just take it for granted that the music will be there, because we need the fans, and without the fans, musicians just can't make music. so that would be a very good. Hopefully, if we have to take something good away from this, that it showed us how much we actually care.
Sounds good, Anders. And Anders, I would like to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you today. And thank you so much for the amazing album you guys are putting up on November 12th. And thank you so much for the music. And thanks again. And I wish you and the band all the best, and would like to see you more and more in the coming days.
Thank you very much. Thank you for talking to us. That was That was
Pleasure for me.
great. Great that we made it all the way around the
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Awesome. And thanks, Anders. You have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. You too. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.